Hello everybody, and welcome back to another video. It's been a hot minute since I last did a video like this, so I hope you enjoy. Pokemon X and Y was the first time the Pokemon anime really gave a feel of a shonen. I rewatched it recently and it made me think, yo, this team is a little goated, you know, with the songs. And we're going to test it out, right? On the region where Ash became a league champion, the Alola region. I know it might not make the most amount of sense, but the Ultra Sun Moon games are my favorite of the 3DS era. Anyways, in regards to the team, I will try to keep the same moves as he used in the anime, but brother, some moves are just, some movesets are just horrendous. Like, if we look at Noivern, right? He's a special attacking, fast boom man, right? He has Dragon Claw, Acrobatics, Boom Burst, and Supersonic. Supersonic, first of all, is never gonna hit once. It's just not. Like, in the important battles, it's just not gonna hit. And then, on top of that, Dragon Claw and Acrobatics are two physical moves on a special attacking Pokemon. And then Talonflame, he has three moves. So yeah, try is the key word to keep the same movesets. But I'll probably end up having one or two of the same moves to at least keep some form of similarity. Anyways, so his team was Pikachu, Greninja, Talonflame, Goodra, Noivern, and Hawlucha. At a glance, it looks pretty good. But if we look for more than half a second, you'll see that most of the Pokemon are weak to Electric, Ice, and Fairy type attacks. And out of those three typings, there are two trials, those being the Electric and the Fairy trial. And then technically the Mimikyu one does have Play Rough. Especially the Mimikyu and the Togedemaru trial, that being the Electric one, are in a point of the game where the team is not fully evolved. And their stats are lacking. They're lacking. So, you know what? I'm just writing all of this before we get going. We'll just see how far it goes. And anyways, I hope you enjoy. The rules are pretty simple. No overleveling and no using items in battle. And I'm only going to be using the Pokemon team that Ash used. Yeah, anyways, with that out of the way, let's get to it. So we first start by picking Froakie because Pikachu decided to rest up in the house, and we take on Hal. Normally, that would mean that he then picks Litten to get the typing I'm strong against, but not this time. I basically changed it so his team would fit the Sun and Moon anime, and a kind of difficulty increase of sorts. While at first I thought we could win, the first fight, because the AI is not the best. As soon as I saw the finish line, he then went and said, no. And then we took a leafage to the face, well, two, and he took us out. Not the best start, but we're starting somewhere. Either way, we'll get him back in this next fight. Alright, so now we get our team from the house, we go grab the full team of 6, we're gaming, we're absolutely gaming. And the first fight that we have to do with this team is the How one, but technically it's a 6v2. So to make it somewhat even, I too only use two Pokemon, those being Pikachu and Gumi. So I start off with Pikachu against the Pichu, and then I'm like, maybe not, how about no? And then we swap to Gumi because resistance. Then we go back and forth, with me just bubbling it until one, we get a speed drop, and then Pichu gets us to 4 HP. So that's bad. So then I swap back to Pikachu, and then we finish it off with Thunder Shocks because Pichu just loved lowering our attack stat, which I don't mind. And then Rowlet came out. And then we continue to spam peak gameplay. This is what it means to play low-level Pokemon. And then we just kept on doing it. And then we beat Pikachu. Pichu. Frick. Rowlet. Oh my god. Pikachu is good, basically. That's what I'm trying to get at. I'm still struggling to read the script. And I might be illiterate. But besides that, we can then continue with this story. We skip the school because this isn't the anime, and then we have to fight these goons that are making a ruckus at the bay. And then they tell us that they are Team Skull. And then Ilima was just watching from the shadows, a trial captain, people that are supposed to protect the city, and they're impressed by our skills and wants to test us. And then I'm like, okay, sure, let's do this. I was underleveled, oopsie daisy. And then he starts with a Yungoos. We use Hawlucha, and we're 2 levels under, and 2, even though we're 2 levels under, 2 karate chops next, and then it goes down. And then he only has 2 Pokemon, so that was great. And lastly, Smeargle. To scout things out, we detect and see that he is in fact using Tackle. He does end up outspeeding us, and that Tackle does decent amount of damage. Karate Chop does 60% of his HP, and to avoid fainting, we swap to Pikachu. We tank 2 tackles, and it puts us low. Static procs, and our Thunder Shock deals decent damage. But he's laughing in our face and uses a potion, and as soon as we swap to Froakie, he then uses a full restore. Not a full restore, just the thing that removes statuses. Smeargle does 13 damage with a tackle, and ouchie, but we're fine because Bubble deals pretty good damage, and we put him low enough to finish him off with a quick attack. Honestly, for our first quote-unquote hard battle, I think we did pretty good. With that victory, Ilima thinks we are strong enough to fight the totem Pokemon. And so we do so. There was a few incidents along the way with Team Skull, but we beat them pretty easily. And now, I get to talk about totem Pokemon. These are bigger Pokemon that are like from the norm, and they also get a stat boost at the start of the fight. They also get to call in a Pokemon to turn a 1v1, a 2v1. So that's lovely. The first totem is a Gumshoes. This guy is not that strong, mainly because of the very existence of Hawlucha. Even though he has a defense boost, it doesn't matter. 2 karate chops later, like the totem Pokemon goes down. I wish maybe I could have made the fight more interesting, but Hawlucha is too good. And then we also take out the Yungoos that he called in. We're then taught about Z moves and Z crystals, but that's useless to us right now. We continue and fight that Nebby has gone missing. We go look for it in a cave and find that a sketchy guy, he wants to fight us, and so we do so. He has a normal type Pokemon, and I have a Hawlucha. Normally, that's how it would go, but I chose to make life a little more interesting. I decided to start with Pikachu because I taught it Brick Break. He uses Sand Attack, and Brick Break does decent damage. He lowers my attack, and so the Brick Break actually does like barely any damage. I then swap to Fletchling and only lowers my accuracy on the switch. He lowers my attack stat again, and I do the same. We do this again, but this time my growl missed. I swap back to Pikachu and take a headbutt that even though his attack was down, it does 18 damage to us. I keep Pikachu in for the static proc, but sadly he goes down. With that speed drop, we go back to Fletchling and peck, but it deals like 0 damage. He retaliates with a headbutt and takes 15 of our HP. I stay in for the damage, I guess, and he lowers my attack stat. I stay in one more turn since I had a berry equipped, but it doesn't matter since I'm forced to switch out. I go into Noibat to confuse it. I go into Gumi as a sacrificial lamb, which the same thing happens to Fletchling, but it was all worth it since I go back into Noibat to Supersonic. And then he himself takes himself out, whoa, that's a lot of himselfs, when he tries to headbutt us. I take it back. Supersonic might be a little goated. With that, we leave this place and Hao jumps us right before the Kahuna fight. He starts off with his Rowlet and I use Hawlucha, so 2 wing attacks later and he goes down. Noibat is next and it was time to show why Pikachu is Ash's ace. He then Okos the Noibat with an Electro Ball and a single Brick Break later and the other Pikachu goes down. So it was now time to fight Hala, the Kahuna of Melemele. But before that, some grinding later, our Froakie evolved into Frogadier. So now we actually head over to Hala. Kahunas are essentially the final boss of each island. They are allegedly the strongest trainer in the island. Hala is a fighting type specialist. And again, we have Hawlucha. So we spammed Aerial Ace till victory. I also styled on him by detecting the Z move, and just like that we defeated Hala. So now we got the fighting type Z moves, Toro is now rideable, and after a bit of few smash and rocks, we also get the flying type Z move. Now it's time to head over to the next island, Akala Island. As we reach Akala, we are greeted by Mallow and Mommy Olivia. Nothing important happens until we go a little further and a certain trainer from Kalos shows up and wants to fight us, Dexia. I seem to not like easy fights because again, I make this battle way harder than it needed to be. He starts with his Mime Jr. and we use Pikachu's Iron Tail to OHKO it. In came the big threat Espeon. I go into Frogadier for some reason and take a Psybeam to the face. We're put to 5 HP. I know it was a crit, but still. Forgetting it had quick attack, Frogadier goes down. Fool me once, shame on you. I go back to Pikachu and Psybeam puts us at 5 HP, but Iron Tail does 60% of their HP. I then do an oopsie and get taken out by another quick attack. Fool me twice, shame on me. Go into fletchling to essentially do nothing and then get taken out by quick attack. Fool me 3 times, it shouldn't be happening after 2 times, right? And then I go into Noibat. By the way, all of this time I could have gone into Hawlucha and then, after losing Noibat, I finally used my brain and then went into Hawlucha outspeed to take it out. Yeah, no, I don't know. I don't know how to explain this one. With that, it was time to continue onwards and we made it to Paniola Town. Here we have our 3rd How fight. So far we are tied as to who has the most wins. As he does, he starts with his Dartrix. I use Hawlucha and turn 1 Detect, thinking it would Z-move. Next turn, I Aerial Ace to put it to half and take a peck from him. 1 more Aerial Ace later and he goes down. Up next is Pikachu and I switch to mine. Take a quick attack on the switch, I play nice as he continues to quick attack. I do it 1 more turn and then go on the offense. A quick attack of mine does like 45% of his HP, while his do nothing. I then get a high roll and take him out. In comes Noibat, and an Electro Ball almost OHKOs it. He bites us in return, I quick attack and then he goes out. Eevee is the last one, so I switch to Frogadier to take a quick attack on the switch. 2 Water Pulses later, he goes down. So far, we're now on the lead, so that's good. After the fight, Fletchling evolves into Fletchinder. On our way to the water trial, we meet a young lad with many anger issues. He also appears to be part of Team Skull. He has beef with How, and somehow we end up fighting him instead. He starts off with his Zorua, and I OHKO him with my Hawlucha. In comes Zubat, and we switch to Pikachu. On an Electro Ball, he goes down. Last type is type Null. I paralyze him, swap to Hawlucha, we tank the tackle on the switch, and then 2 brick breaks later, he goes down. So far, our team is absolutely gaming. Alright, now on to the water trial. Before we do this, I'd like to point your attention to 2 things. Hawlucha and the Flying Z. I mean, technically I didn't one-shot it. With that clean victory, we make our way onto the next trial. On our way, we meet up with Dulce again, and he wants to fight us. This time he has a Poipole, some Pokemon from outer space or something, or like from another world, instead of the Furfrou. I use Pikachu because he's the GOAT, and thus we win. We have 1 more run-in with Team Skull, but it wasn't really all that. We then go onwards onto the fire trial. This one is quite interesting as we can't heal or anything in between the fights, so it's a gauntlet. So we prepare our best and answer the questions correctly. After 2 battles, we encounter the Totem Pokemon and a Lowland Marowak. We start with an already hurt Pikachu to Thunder Wave him. We are taken out the same turn from a crit Flame Wheel. We then go into Goomy as he calls in as a Lazzle. Goomy somehow lives the attacks and is able to set up the Rain Dance, but we're taken out the next turn. In comes Frogadier to use the Waterium Z and a Hydro Vortex later, and the Marowak goes down. We are then poisoned by Salazzle, but a Water Pulse later, and we make it through the trial. So after that, it was time to do the Grass type trial. I was kind of afraid since even on the water trial, we were never able to OHKO the Totem Pokemon. This one was worse since one of the call-in options is a Comfey, which heals and buffs the totem. I might have Hawlucha, but this is how it went. So turn 1, even to my own surprise, we are outsped and take a Solar Blade to the face. Even with a Flyinium Z, we are unable to OHKO it, which meant that the ally that it called in would matter. Sadly, I get the Comfey, and the battle becomes a battle of attrition. And from here, I'm just gonna cut a lot of the gameplay that went, because it was a lot. And just straight up say, I misplay on many occasions, and for some reason thought that our team was strong enough to beat it through the buffs. So sadly, this means we have our first trial loss. So I was kind of stumped, because I genuinely had no clue what to do. So I said, you know what, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna EV train my Pokemon. It might have been a bit overkill. Anywho's, now that we've beaten all of the trials, it was time to fight Mommy Olivia. On the way there, we meet up with a group called the Aether Foundation. They say that they help Pokemon, and then we meet up with Team Skull because they're doing weird stuff to Slowpokes. We stop them, like we normally do, but then the Aether Foundation is like, oh, you're pretty chill. Thank you for helping us. So then we just keep on moving forward, and then as soon as we make it to the Kahuna area, we are met by a Team Skull member called Plumeria. Crazy, she has a name. She's annoyed that we beat a lot of Team Skull, so she's here to get back at us. She starts with her Golbat. might confuse us, but we have the goat in Pikachu and then a spark to take it down. Lastly, we go into Frogadier and then a water pulse just does it. With that, we can finally fight Mommy Olivia. Anorith comes in and Halucha does his thing. Steel Wing and he goes down. Lilleep is up next and 2 brick breaks later and she goes down. Last but not least, the Lycanroc. We use the Fightium Z and it goes down. The Kahunas seem to be the easiest to fight so far, but you know, it is what it is. Our previous run-in with the Aether Foundation made it so they think we're important and want to take us to the actual Aether Paradise. We agree and make it off Akala Island. In the Aether Paradise, we met this mommy? I don't know. Maybe, I mean, technically she is. But like, is she a mommy though? You know what I mean? Like, I know this has a lot to do with Pokemon. In any case, after talking a bit about Pokemon and her age, we then meet an alien Pokemon. We use a Z move and it runs away. Interesting. After that interaction, we head over to the next island, Ula Ula. As soon as we make it to Ula Ula, it's time to fight Hao once again. Mind you, our team hasn't changed since the last time we fought him. Anyhow, he starts with his Dartrix. We use Noibat to air cutter him to deal not so good damage, and a Pluck almost takes us out. Not sure why I even swapped, but then we go into Pikachu and thankfully Static procs. I go into Fletchinder and Flame Charge to almost take him out, and a Pluck does big damage to him. We then take him out next turn. Vaporeon comes out and I go into Goomy. Sadly, we get confused in the swap. We Dragon Breath hoping for a paralysis, and all he does is Quick Attack. We finally get the paralysis and then use Bide. After taking hits, Bide didn't really do the damage I wanted. I then fall back to Dragon Breath, and because of paralysis, we're able to take out the Vaporeon. In comes Raichu. Sadly, a Psychic later, we go down. It was then time for Pikachu to use Iron Tail, and we get outsped and taken out. This is when I started sweating a little. I go into Frogadier to use a Z move, but we get outsped and faint. We then use Halucha since it's our fastest Pokemon, and outspeed, but a Steel Wing doesn't really do any damage. A Psychic later and we faint. By this point, I knew we were going to lose. Every Pokemon of mine got outsped by the Raichu, and thus we had our first loss against Hao. I wasn't really expecting this would happen, but it's kind of very Ash that it happened. With that loss at hand, it was time to get stronger, and so we continued with our trials. We headed over to Mount Hakulani, dealt with Team Skull on the way, and it was time to fight the Electric type trial. I'm going to reiterate, our team hasn't evolved since the Paniola Ranch fight against Hao. Yeah, holy. Our team also has a major weakness against electric types. But as we do some electricity puzzles, we seem to overcharge the Vikavolt machine, and in order to protect the Grubbins, Togedemaru moves in front to protect them. This angers the totem, a Togedemaru. So, here goes. Turn 1, I try to OHKO by using the Fightium Z, but he spiky shields, and so we practically deal no damage. He then calls in a Skarmory. Our Karate Chop barely does any damage, and we are practically one-shot by the Togedemaru. To make things worse, whoa, I can speak. To make things worse, the Skarmory sets up a Tailwind to increase the Togedemaru's speed. So with that, a Zing Zap later and we go down. I then cut my losses and reset the attempt. Yeah. I also put my Pokemon to the level cap, and I am reminded of the fact that none of them evolve yet. Things are going great. All we have to do, basically, to win this fight is avoid the spiky shield as we Z-move. So, you know, last fight, he turned 1 spiky shielded. So, because of that, I detect. And for some reason, the Togedemaru attacks us. I'd love to know why the AI does this. Unless it knows what I'm clicking to begin with. And if so, skill issue, I guess. It then uses spiky shield as we Z-move. So, we deal no damage, basically. And we have a deja vu, but this time the Skarmory is here to make things not fun. I deal somewhat decent damage on the Brook Break and are back to how things were on the previous attempt. We then go into Goomy, take Stealth Rock's damage, of course that happened, and protect ourselves. Spiky Shield is used and our Dragon Breath is nullified, and we are now under the effects of Torment, which means we can't use the same move twice in a row. We take an Iron Head and a Steel Wing and are flinched. Amazing! An Iron Head later and we faint. Noibat comes in, and as you can imagine, it quickly goes down. We use Pikachu and Nuzzle the Skarmory, hoping maybe it could do anything, but I forget how Lightning Rod works, the ability. So now, nothing happens, and just to speed things up, yeah, we lose this attempt. We lose. So now, I'm not just gonna say, and the next attempt we won, because we did it. It took 2 more. I honestly just got insanely lucky, mainly because we were finally able to Z-move and not get spiky shielded. So, here's how it went. We started with Gumi, take an Iron Head and Dragon Breath. Called in Skarmory. They wombo combo me, somehow live, and sadly we don't get the paralysis onto the Skarmory. We're taken out, but do decent damage overall. I go into Hawlucha, Z-move, and there's no spiky shield. Inside. Amazing. We do massive damage, but most of it is regained due to the Citrus Berry. Hey, better than nothing. Then Deja Vu strikes back. To maybe make something out of it, I switch into Pikachu since he's not the most useful right now. A Zing back later and we're taken out. Go into Fletchender, he Zing Zap us, and somehow we live at 1 HP. And then, Boomba! Flame Body ability! Halves it, it works! He's burned, which means his attack is halved. Amazing! My lord, I was actually jumping out of my seat when this happened. Also, because of the speed increase from Flame Charge and Tailwind petering out, we outspeed and attack 1 less time before fainting. But man, he died a hero. Go into Noibat, tank the Zing Zap, Air Cutter does enough damage, so the burns takes him out. Sadly, the Skarmory takes out Noibat, but with that, our Frogadier comes in to clean things up. Wow. Yeah. Fletchender goated, basically. I was half expecting us to stop here or have to bring in the friendship mechanic to be able to continue, and this might be a bit of a foreshadow. But we'll see. Great stuff. With that grueling battle done, it was time for a bit of a break before the next one, and our break is the Guzma fight. This bug lover wasn't really much of a threat. He starts with his Golisopod and Flying Z later, and his emergency exit procs. In came Masquerain with Intimidate, so we swap to Gumi, tank the Air Slash, Paralysis, ba-ba-ding, bada-boom, Pikachu comes in, loses, but it doesn't matter because then Hawlucha just comes in to outspeed and clean up the Masquerain and the Golisopod. We then make our way to the next trial, the Ghost Site. On the way there, we have a chat with Gladion about Nebby. After that, we make it to the trial site, a spooky rundown supermarket. Thankfully, as we are going through the trial, our Fletchender evolves into Talonflame. This is massive. It's our first fully evolved Pokemon after all. So, as we go into a small room, we are then jumped by the Totem Mimikyu. So, we start off by Pikachu, and then get OHKO'd by a single Play Rough. Whoopsie daisy, but static procs, it gets healed by a Lumberry, but at least now we can, yes. Anyways, we then go into Talonflame and Banette is called in. We tank a Shadow Claw and retaliate with a Flame Charge. With this, we're able to break through Mimikyu's disguise. The Banette then curses our Talonflame. With the speed boost, we outspeed and hit the Mimikyu with the Steel Wing, but sadly go down to a Shadow Claw. We go into Hawlucha, the Steelium Z. We get it very low, but a single Play Rough takes us out. We swap to Frogadier and get OHKO'd by another Play Rough, in which having 2 dragons in the back, we of course lose this attempt. We've kind of gotten to a point where we are unable to just breeze through things, but don't worry, on the next attempt we get the win. This time we start off with Talonflame. We take the Shadow Claw and then get the speed boost from Flame Charge and then take off the disguise. Banette is back, but we outspeed and Steel Wing. We get lucky and get a defense boost. Because of this, we're able to tank the next 2 attacks. We also get even more lucky and Flame Body procs onto the Banette. 3 roosts later, I heal the damage and am put in a very favorable position. Sadly, on the last roost, Banette screeches us and puts our defense to -1. I Steel Wing 1 last time for some good damage onto the Mimikyu, but a Shadow Claw later and we go down. Hawlucha then is able to come in to just Steelium Z and take out the Mimikyu. Frogadier then comes in to clean the Banette, and with this win, our Frogadier is then able to evolve into Greninja. We then go back to the Aether house where Lily is hiding and see that Plumeria is back, so we of course have to fight her. We start off with Greninja to Z-Water and then next turn take out the Golbat. And now that we have Greninja, of course Ash Greninja will show up. so I'll just let it play, you know? I just love that song. This is off script, but I do believe that the Japanese version of that song is just 10 times better than the English version. Not a hot take, I don't think. In any case, with that win against Plumeria, she backs off, and we continue with our adventure, but we then learn that Team Skull stole one of the kids' Pokemon. So of course, time to head over there to their turf and fight them there. And just like last time, the bug lover wasn't an issue. I mean, especially now that the team is starting to actually shape up. So we start off with Hawlucha and an Acrobatics later, and the Galissapod's emergency exit procs. He then goes into Masquerain, and the repeat of essentially sacking Pikachu for a clean switch happens again. I then switch to Talonflame, and 2 Acrobatics later, both of the Guzma's Pokemon faint. Lastly, Pinsir, he tanks our Acrobatics, but a Throat Chop doesn't deal nearly enough damage, and next turn he goes down. As we beat Guzma, we head back to the Aether house. We make it there and learn that Team Skull quite literally kidnapped a Lily. So then Gladion comes in at the perfect time and is angry that we let that happen. So of course we battle. He starts off with his Golbat and I started with Hawlucha. I swap to Pikachu and take way too much damage from Acrobatics, and then on top of that he then outspeeds me and Pikachu goes down. So I go into Noibat, pretend I didn't, Greninja comes in, and Hydro Vortex plus Water Shuriken later, he goes down. I U-turn into Hawlucha and tank an X-Scissor. Brick Break doesn't deal nearly enough damage, and a Crit Crush Claw OHKOs us. So then Greninja then comes in to clean up. Lastly, Zoroark. We are permanently stuck at only hitting 3 Water Shurikens for some reason, and so we get taken out by Hyper Voice. Then Talonflame comes in and takes out the Zoroark. After the fight, Gladion forces us to follow him to the ferry. As we make it, Nanu reveals that he's the kahuna of the island, so we must fight him. Sableye up first, and after a fake out, we still can only use 3 Water Shuriken. Pyro Gem puts us at half. Next turn, we take him out. We then turn into Ash Greninja, and Krokorok comes out, so we easily take him out. And lastly, Persian. He fakes us out, and after that, we somehow get outsped and taken out. A high jump kick from Hawlucha then cleans things up. After the fight, Gladion tells us that Lily was taken to the Aether Paradise, so now we must go against an entire organization. The second time we do this, because why not? We go through many fights, we even fight Faba, and then are allowed to go into the files to understand more about the nature of Cosmog. After figuring this stuff out, we then return and Faba jumps us, but he wasn't really an issue, like, at all. After that, we can go outside of the Aether Paradise and see that Team Skull is working with the Aether Foundation. After that, we go through quite a few trainers and are ready to take on Big Bad Guzma. Alright, so Galissapod is up first, then an Acrobatics procs his emergency exit. Then comes Vikavolt, we switch to Sliggoo and tank a Thunderbolt. Then Muddy Water, we do some pretty good damage, hoping for the accuracy drop, but a Bug Buzz is doing some pretty decent damage to us. We repeat one more time, maybe get an accuracy drop, we still don't get it, and a Bug Buzz still does quite a bit of damage. I decide to stay in one more time, maybe I get the accuracy drop on the third time, it doesn't happen, and then a Bug Buzz comes in, somehow doesn't take us out, but we do get the special defense drop, so I switch to Hawlucha, tank the Bug Buzz, and then an Acrobatics later, Vikavolt goes down. In comes Masquerain with Intimidate, so we swap to Talonflame. An Air Slash is tanked, question mark, but an Acrobatics does take it out. In comes Pinsir with Dodge the Stone Edge. Acrobatics does pretty good damage. We swap to Hawlucha for the incoming Stone Edge, and then Acrobatics later take him out, and then last but not least Galissapod, and he goes down with Acrobatics. We then head down to take on Lusamine because she's doing some pretty weird and sketchy things. Step on me, please do. Anyways, Clefable is up first, then Pikachu Iron-Tail does end up taking it out. Then in comes Lilligant. I stay in for the Nuzzle to get the paralysis, but sadly no paralysis, and we do end up taking it out by Petal Dance. In comes Hawlucha, just do Acrobatics, win. In comes Beware, I high jump kick, do some pretty decent damage. It goes for Drain Punch and does surprising amount, heals a decent amount. High jump misses, plus Send Headbutt, I do end up falling. Then comes Talonflame, I Acrobatics, tank a Drain Punch, well tank is an overstatement, but thankfully Flame Body procs, so we win basically. Acrobatics does end up not taking it out, but next turn we do take it out. I go for the Flame Charge, which might have been an oopsie, because now my Milotic is gonna Icy Wind when on me switching to Greninja, and now I get the Speed Drop. Remember the Speed Drop, please. Hydro Pump does way too much damage. Grass Knot comes in, does a decent amount. I say fuck it, we ball. Hydro Pump can miss, and so we go for the Grass Knot. Hydro Pump misses, and that's how we take up Milotic. We turn into Ash Greninja, then in comes Lopunny, forget about the Speed Drop, and I let Greninja down. Then Sliggoo comes in, sets up the Rain Dance, tanks the Dizzy Punch, Thunder Punch for some reason. Muddy Water comes in and doesn't get the accuracy drop, sadly. Dizzy Punch then confuses us, and now I hit myself. It goes for Thunder Punch for some reason, and then I hit myself. So we lose the Thunder Punch. Then comes Talonflame, tanks quote-unquote the Dizzy Punch, but it sets up the Flame Body, and then on top of that, Acrobatics, Breakthrough Confusion plus Crit, which takes out the Lopunny. And now Lusamine just goes through a portal, but because of all this, Noibat does end up evolving into Noivern, which is pretty nice. Now in comes a dragon that we have to fight, because it's apparently a totem Pokemon. In comes Talonflame, the goat, Acrobatics, tanks the Thunder Punch, and then on top of that sets up Flame Body. Scizor is called, Acrobatics one last time to die a hero to the Thunder Punch. Then in comes Noivern, and I do an oopsie and air slash the Scizor instead of taking out the Como. Somehow live a Dragon Claw and get the flinch on the Scizor. The burn does end up taking out the Como. Then in comes a Bullet Punch, puts us pretty low, but then the next air slash does end up taking out the Scizor. And then finally, after this fight, we can evolve Sliggoo into Goodra. It took so long, but we finally made it and our team is complete. Alright, so now we play a few flutes, some I don't know. I might be taken away from the importance of this moment by me just talking over it, but you know, words, you feel me? And then crazy that Nebby was Solgaleo. What? In any case, after figuring all this out, we're like, oh yeah, we can now finally follow after Lusamine. But no, ha ha ha. They jump out of an ultra wormhole and they're like, oh no, help me. And then this Pokemon, I guess, is apparently a monster. So now we get this very anime-esque battle between Solgaleo and Necrozma. It's like, pyum, 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 pyum. But then he gets absolutely dominated, and because of that, they fuse. And it's like, what? You're actually quite cool looking. I'll give you that. I'll give you that. You know what? I'll give you that. You're pretty cool looking. But because you're, I guess, evil, because we don't know anything about you, we have to fight you, not before him setting up like a few portals in the place. Nuzzle sets up the paralysis. Bada bing, bada boom. Psycho Cut plus crit. Yeah, Pikachu just dies here. But now Talonflame, the absolute GOAT. This is how we win. We spam Flame Charge, Sunseal Strike, and now we just continue to spam Flame Charge and Flame Charge and Night Slash. Oh, doesn't matter. Even with a crit, the GOAT stays alive. Then more Talon, more Flame Charge. Go, sick him. Even with a crit, sadly we don't take him out, but he does get paralyzed, and that's how we win. The GOAT himself, Talonflame. I was never expecting to ever say these words, but yeah. And now he's like, oh no, I've been defeated. I'm a peace out. See ya. Bye bye. So now, we're like, oh no, what's gonna happen? Then we're like, oh, the Ultra Recon Squad, help us. They show that they have Lunala. They had it this entire time and don't say anything about it, but that's besides the point. So now we travel through Ultra Space and we reach Ultra Megalopolis. This very cool looking place that we can't enter any single building, but that's besides the point. As we climb to the very top, whatever part of that body of Necrozma goes away, and then this actually cool looking Pokemon just says, hello, I am here. And now we've come to a situation. This was my first attempt at Necrozma. Necrozma's aura is a +2 Omni Boost, right? I start Pikachu. He's pretty fast, right? He's pretty fast. But I'm level 50, he's level 60. Because I'm still going to the level caps of the trainers. And then everyone just gets outsped. Even good old Greninja, Halucha, like, they all get outsped. So, the only way for us to win is by adding friendship to the mix. Which is a very Ash thing to do. And thus, I will only give friendship to Pikachu and Greninja because those are the only that make the most amount of sense. Alrighty, and now with friendship, brought into the mix, Pikachu comes in, says no, and then is able to nuzzle to paralyze Necrozma. Iron Tail comes in, but then Photon Geyser, we don't avoid it this time. Either way, he did his job. In comes Noivern to Super Fang to half Necrozma. Sadly, Paralysis is not doing much aside from the speed drop, but hey, that's all we need. In comes Halucha, Acrobatics, Paralysis this time. Acrobatics doesn't really do enough. And then Photon Geyser does in fact take us out. Then last but not least, Greninja, U-turn, so close. So then I switch to Goodra, and we still get outsped, even if it's paralyzed. I guess it's to be expected. And then Greninja can come in and then Water Shuriken to take out Ultra Necrozma. This was the only way for us to do it. If not, GG go next. Ash can't beat the game. So yeah. Now with that, Solgaleo is back to his beautiful self, and it was time to go back and continue our trials. So the next trial is the Paintress Mina. We're gonna start off with Pikachu against the Mawile. Bing bang boom bam, Pikachu does his job of Nuzzle to paralyze the Mawile. It does retaliate with a Play Rough, and somehow we don't faint, which is great, which means we can swap the Talonflame, and then thankfully on the switch, paralyzed. So then it goes for Sucker Punch, and I go for Talonflame. After a bit of back and forth of me getting rid of Sucker Punch PP, Flame Charge comes in to then get rid of Mawile. Then in comes Gramble. I stay in for some reason, Steel Wing, and then get absolutely destroyed by Stone Edge. I go in with Pikachu to then Nuzzle, get the Paralysis, and then it is paralyzed, so that's great. Then in comes Iron Tail and take out the Gramble. Last but not least for Bombay, we do get outsped with Pollen Puff, so then we swap to Halucha. For some reason, instead of Acrobatics, because we do outspeed, I decide to detect the Z move. I don't know why, but then next turn we do take it out with Acrobatics. Alrighty, so after that fun little montage of beating the Paintress Trials, it was time to fight the Totem Pokemon, a good ol' Ribombay. So yeah, this is why Pikachu is the GOAT. I'm just gonna say it outright. Bug Buzz incoming. Pikachu says, "I got this, don't worry about it." And then goes Iron Tail, Gambunga, and then on top of that, gets a crit. Holy. Okay, so after that, it was time to get the final kahuna. I have Greninja, and she's a ground type user. Starts off with Golurk. Greninja's like, "Oh yeah, we got this. We got this. Don't you worry about it." Water Shuriken. 1. Crit. 2. 3. And then So with that final fun little Ash Greninja battle, it was time to fight Gladion. So he's still a little angry, but it's a-okay. So Acrobatics almost takes us out. Extrasensory sadly doesn't take out the Crobat, so Greninja falls. So no music. Hawlucha then comes in to sweep. In comes Lucario. High jump kick. Oh, but it's actually Zoroark. In comes Silvally. Noivern says, "Hello, I tank that attack." Super Fang to half it. Takes a crunch, but he's like, "Oh, don't worry, I got this." And now Draco Meteor says bye-bye. In comes the actual Lucario. Hawlucha then comes in, tanks the Metal Claw because he's goated, and then High Jump Kick just takes it out. So now is actually time to fight the E4. We're actually almost there. I didn't get to use the music, if we're being honest, that much, because I have heavily misused Ash Greninja. But hey, that's my fault, not Ash's fault. We'll go with that. In any case, it was time to fight the Steel-type Elite Four, Molayne. Alrighty, so he first starts off with Clefly and of course sets up spikes. I Fire Blast to almost take it out. Then next turn, sadly, Thunder Wave. You know, but hey, we say no, and we still Fire Blast, right? So far, so good. In comes Metagross, scary guy. Take a Meteor Mash. Tank is a bit of an understatement, and then we do it again. He gets an attack boost, and I Rain Dance. The reason why I Rain Dance is because Hydration cures my paralysis. I then switch to Talonflame. Meteor Mash, even though it's +1, I mean, it does a lot of damage, but thankfully Flame Body works. Now I set up the Sunny Day, because we're gaming, and then a Z Headbutt doesn't take it out because of Flame Body. We do one Flame Charge before then falling to Zen Headbutt. In comes Goodra. Now with the Sun, Fire Blast definitely takes out Metagross. Then in comes Dugtrio. We definitely get outsped. I don't know why I didn't swap, but hey, that's besides the point. In comes Hawlucha to just do his thing and High Jump Kick to Oko Dugtrio. Then comes Magnezone. I High Jump Kick. Sadly, almost take it out. And then a Thunderbolt from his side takes us out. So that's lovely. Then in comes Greninja to Waterium Z. Because I knew he was gonna heal. And then Water Shuriken takes it out. Then we can imagine I put the song. I'm not gonna do it because Ash Greninja doesn't really do that well here. Water Shuriken, even though, like, yeah, sure, it does more damage. I am permanently stuck at 3 Water Shurikens. So that's fun. And so an X-Scissor takes us out. In comes Pikachu and Thunderbolt to take out the Bishop. So, yeah, anyways, now comes Mommy. We have to fight her one more time. And, step on me, please. Alrighty, so Olivia, the good. First up, Armaldo, Ash Greninja comes in, Z move to Oko. That means Ash Greninja time. Ash Greninja time. Don't pay attention to the tone of my voice. Water Shuriken, a Cradilly. Energy Ball. Now do a patient. Pay attention to my voice tone. Wow. Anyways, Hawlucha just Oko'd Cradilly. In comes Gigalith. He's like, hold my beer. We're doing this again. Stone Edge. We tank the hit, and I'm like, okay, Hawlucha's gonna die, so it's fine. Take him out with me. You know what I mean? Anyways, in comes Goodra against Probopass. This battle is gonna be interesting because I set up Rain Dance. He tries to paralyze me. So then now Muddy Water does more damage. And now he's going to try to set up this Sandstream. So then I set up the Rain. He tries to paralyze me. I cut the thing, so it didn't happen like multiple times, but like this happened for like quite a few turns, like a solid 5 minutes of us just doing that. In any case, after she used the full restore, thankfully the thunder wave avoided, so then we take it out. Bada bing, bada boom. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. In comes Lycanroc. It uses the Z move. For some reason, doesn't use Lycan EMZ, but that's besides the point. Continental Crush does a lot of damage, but doesn't Oko me, which means Muddy Water can do stuff. Then it goes for Heal. I Dragon Pulse, because I thought I was going to die. Stone Edge misses, and then Muddy Water comes in to just muddy the entire place up. So, Gudra goated, which might be a reoccurring theme for the E4 at least, because Gudra is... I wasn't expecting it to carry so much weight. In any case, now times for Kahili, I think that's her name. Kahili, yes, Kahili. Alright, first up, Braviary, Halucha. Why Halucha? Because Thunder Punch. Then Brave Bird, and Halucha says bye-bye. Whoopsie daisy, in comes Pikachu, Thunderbolt. Thunderbolt again, because she full restored. Now, Halucha. Now we go Thunderbolt. Somehow it lives. If I had the Life Orb, I would have been fine. But sadly, Poison Jab does paralyze us. Nuzzle because she healed. Then Thunderbolt to take it out. Afterwards, Oricorio. I say Z Volt Tackle. Bye-bye. Good stuff so far. In comes Mandibuzz. I paralyze it. Brave Bird. We say na. Thunderbolt. And now Brave Bird does actually take us out. But, you know, Pikachu, absolute go. In any case, in comes Greninja. What a shuriken. What a shuriken. What a shuriken. What a shuriken. This time we did get 4. We take those. But now that we turn into Ash Greninja, we can only do 3. I didn't know this entire time. It wasn't until I did more research that for Ash Greninja, it's stuck at 3. In any case, we take it out. So, yeah. W, I guess. This time Ash Greninja did do something. In any case, after that, bada bing, bada boom, comes Acerola. She's pretty cool. I'll give you that. Her team might be a little questionable. But, alright. We'll go with that. It was alright. It's alright. I, for some reason, thought she was going to be the hardest. But technically, I guess Olivia ended up being the hardest one. Or technically that. Either Olivia or Mullane, because I technically lost the most. Anyways, Greninja, Night Slash. She goes for Screech. Night Slash again, because she healed. Night Slash again to take it out. Bada bing, bada boom. It's so easy. Then we go, Ash Greninja. I don't know what I'm doing anymore. Anyways, I switch to Gudra. Take the energy ball. Fire Blast, avoid. It slams me. Slam has less accuracy. Slam has less accuracy, and I keep on missing Fire Blast. 3rd time's the charm. Fire Blast. Slam still hits. Dragon Pulse to then take out the Delmise. Sorry if that sounded weird. In any case, in comes Frost Slash. I swap to Greninja. Take the Blizzard. Kind of. Take it. Z. Black Hole Eclipse. Bye-bye. Everything so far so good. In comes Palosand. Water Shuriken. 1, 2, 3. If only I had a 4th. Giga Drain does end up taking us out then. Now, Noivern. I don't know why I used Draco Meteor on him. I think I could have used anything, but hey, it's fine. In comes Driflim. Driflim. I don't know what I'm doing. Like, generally, I don't know what the fuck. In any case, I Volt Tackle to take it out. Aftermath does that amount of damage. I just want to show you this. And then Volt Tackle almost takes us out, which is crazy. In any case, now it's time to fight. How? Because he's the one that's between us and becoming the champion of Alola. Alright, boss man, here we go. First up, in House Arsenal is Raichu. In comes Greninja. He definitely outspeeds, and a Night Slash takes out the Raichu. Big stuff so far, big stuff. Now we can turn into Ash Greninja and listen to the song one last time. Now, in comes the Decidueye. I do the smart thing. Shinji and Noivern take the Leaf Blade. So far, we're playing great. Air Slash does a lot of damage to Decidueye, and a Spirit Shackle in return does a lot of damage to us, like a lot. So, sadly, Air Slash misses here, and thus, we have our first feint from a Spirit Shackle. Hey, so it's fine, it's fine. Now in comes Talonflame to clean things up with acrobatics. In comes Crabominable. I acrobatics, and he stays at 1 HP. He hits the Stone Edge, and of course we faint. Unlucky, but it is a-okay. In comes Hawlucha, as he's done before, clean up for Talonflame. Now, in comes Tauros. Intimidate. And this is what causes me to do a few things. I thought that he would go for Zen Headbutt, since it's super effective against Hawlucha, but I guess Double Edge just does more damage. High Jump Kick, for the first time misses at the final fight, and then Hawlucha is out of commission. So, great chain of events. Pikachu then is able to come in, Thunderbolt to take out the Tauros. Deadly Tauros. In comes Vaporeon, so I Volt Tackle to Oko the Vaporeon. That means we have 2 Pokemon against 1. I took a lot of damage. I know Goodra is slower than Noivern, and thus I am forced to Nuzzle, and then a Dragon Pulse comes in and takes out Pikachu. So now we're down to the wire, Goodra versus Noivern. I hope Dragon Pulse, and then takes out the Noivern. It got down to the wire. Yeah, and with that, we did it. We became the champions, the very first champions of Alola. It's been a while, again, since I made one of these videos, and I had a lot of fun doing this. I need to get better at just, getting rid of that, but hey, this is a work in progress kind of thing. In any case, there were multiple points in the game where I thought Ash would just not be able to beat it. There's also something so fitting that in order for Ash to beat the game, he had to use the power of friendship. Also, for those wondering, Pikachu was holding the light bulb throughout the majority of the fights, except for that one fight that he did have the Z move. Anyhow, I have multiple ideas for the next few videos, those being fixing X and Y gym leaders, or maybe Hard Gold Soul Silver, fix of gym leaders, rival, that kind of stuff. Or I could even do can Sawyer beat Oras? I'm still unsure. So if anyone says anything, that's what I'll probably do. I also want to start implementing some resemblance of story in my challenge videos. That's why it's not just swap Pokemon and beat the game repetition, you know? I'll get better at it, I swear. Just give me some time. I've also been working on the Sword and Shield video. It will take a while, but that's going to be in the workshop right now. It's probably going to be, like, ideally, it's going to be my best video of this year, or, like, my top 3, you know? That's the goal. Also, this was meant to be the video for last month, and I was gonna pull a P-Chal and be like, oh, it's released on the 31st. But I recently got back into Helldivers 2, so I've just been fighting for democracy. So sorry. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I think that's everything I wanted to say. And with that, I am glad you enjoyed this video, because if you made it this far, I think you did. And if that's the case, I'm glad I could do that for you. Leave a like, maybe, subscribe, yeah. This is the first time I did that kind of thumbnail, and I think it turned out pretty well. Yeah, in any case, I hope you have a lovely day, week, month, or year, and thanks for stopping by.